Hello and welcome into the newest episode of Pat's Latest. I'm your host, Mike Gambardella. The New England Patriots get back to work. Mike Vrabel puts his stamp early on this New England Patriots squad. The very latest on Christian Barmore and an update on old friend Wes Welker. Before we get into everything, make sure you go down and subscribe for our channel. Get into the comments and let us know what you think is the biggest key for the Patriots getting through the NFL draft and into OTAs, and what you'd like to see the Patriots actually do in this year's NFL draft. Lots of names floating around, but right now we focus more on what is happening with the Patriots on that practice field. So quickly getting into the offseason work for the New England Patriots as voluntary practices started up in earnest on Monday. And there's often that question of what is a voluntary practice and what is really the difference when it comes to organized team activities versus training camp and everything else. It just seems like a lot of different names for the same thing. And coaches expect players to be there. That's really the crux of it at the end of the day. Even though they might not have a workout bonus, some teams use a salary de-escalator in their contract for certain players. And it's really trying to get those early days of a team and really maximize the time that a group of 90 guys can be together. And obviously it's not going to be that full 90 before you get the rookies in there, and that's why you have a rookie mini camp and everything else. But especially for a team with a first year head coach and a team that has aspirations higher than it did last season. And yes, that does go for everyone. You want to do better than you did last year, even if you won the Super Bowl. You want to improve your record and everything else. But for Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, it is very important that day one starts in earnest. And to look back at it last year, unfortunately, we said it's a first year head coach for the Patriots, but Mike Vrabel has done this for a very long time and did so with the Tennessee Titans and had a very long career doing this. Gerard Mayo had a very long career as a player, as a first time head coach. The Patriots actually did not use the start of voluntary workouts. They waited an extra week before actually bringing the players in, citing that they wanted to get the coaches on the right pages first. That is not what is happening for the New England Patriots this year. Mike Vrabel is doing it very different. A quick list of some of the major names in voluntary practices: Pop Douglas, Harold Landry, Keon White, Milton Williams, Stefan Diggs, Christian Gonzalez, Brendan Schooler, Jalen Polk, Morgan Moses already there, Alex Austin, Isaiah Bolden, Anthony Jetting, Kyle Duggar, and Kendrick Bourne among most of the names that are in there. And it's just going to set the tone very early for this team and make sure that they're setting what needs to be set early and getting down to work as soon as they can. For Mike Vrabel, there is no voluntary. He jokingly, but I don't think so jokingly, said that he wrote a letter voluntarily to the players to make sure that they voluntarily read it and voluntarily show up. Again, you can't force the players to be there. You can't say, this is the start of practice. We'll see you on Monday, April 7th. But Mike Vrabel is going to pass down that this is the standard and this is what we're going to meet. For a lot of veteran-laden teams, the star players don't need to show up, and it's mainly different for that young team versus old team, new versus established, new coaching staff versus a long-tenured one. Some players can be good enough where it's not going to matter. You don't need those extra reps. Sometimes you might want to work with your own personal trainer. But this is Mike Vrabel's first opportunity to put his stamp on the New England Patriots, to find out about the guys that are in the locker room, not just the ones that he went out and signed as free agents, but the ones that are holdovers from last year's roster as well. Who is a culture fit for what Mike Vrabel wants to establish? Who are Vrabel guys? Who's going to put in the extra work? Who's going to fight in the trenches? Who's going to make every rep meaningful? And it's going to start to emulate what Mike Vrabel is as a coach. A hard-nosed worker and a smart football player that wants to maximize every down of football. And that goes from the practice field, for voluntary practices, for OTAs, to training camp and everything else. This is going to be a very, very different Patriots team than it was in 2024, and day one is setting the tone for that. Additionally, this goes in for why potentially the Joe Milton trade was made. We're hearing a lot that Joe Milton wanted to come out and push Drake May, that he wanted to prove that he was also a QB1, and that's not what Mike Vrabel or this organization wants. They want to ride with Drake May, if there's a couple extra picks one game or not picking up a scheme. They're going to go through the ebbs and flows, the ups and the downs with Drake May. And Joe Milton was going to be chomping at the bit to say, I'm a QB1, forget even QB3, QB2. I'm ready to do this. And Mike Vrabel wants no distractions. He has set his plan forward, and these are the steps that are going to make that happen. And that sometimes, I guess, will mean that the Patriots will do things that are not in line with perhaps perceived value or what, a trade should be done or what you get for it. This is Mike Vrabel's team, his way or the highway. We should be used to it with all of the years of Coach Belichick, and should not be a huge surprise that we're getting back to it with a disciple and former player of his coming in here as well. Additionally, the voluntary workouts saw the return of Christian Barmore. It was great to see him in the locker room, didn't look to have any restrictions on him. And the big question now becomes, can he make the same type of impact that he made 2 years ago? And last summer, he was diagnosed with those blood clots and missed the first 10 games of the season before making a return to action. He only appeared in 4 games and was shut down after a recurrence of those symptoms. Vrabel has said the team will continue to monitor Barmore closely and come up with a great plan for keeping him healthy in the future. Barmore, for his credit, in his first 3 seasons, this has amassed over 133 tackles and 12 and a half sacks to go along with a forced fumble, and has been an absolute disruptor in the middle. If the Patriots can get Christian Barmore and Milton Williams as centralized figure in the trenches for this defense, it sets the tone for everything that Mike Vrabel wants to establish. And suddenly, this defense that was much maligned last season starts to return back to form of 04, 03, 02, 01, where this was really one of the premier units in the NFL. Again, it will start in the trenches and start to build out from there. Christian Barmore's health will continue to be at the center of it, and Mike Vrabel will continue to push. It will be interesting to see with the number 4 pick. There is a lot of talk where the Patriots will go, and now it's seeming like Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter will be off the board at that time. The Patriots, should they decide not to trade back, could be faced with a question in the trenches of which side to go at. Could it be Will Campbell, the tackle from LSU, or could it be Mason Graham, the defensive tackle from Michigan? And if Christian Barmore does not progress the way that he is currently on and stay on that track and maintain that great plan that Mike Vrabel's talked about, suddenly it makes more sense to potentially go that way, as there do seem to be several stopgap options at offensive tackle, whether it be Tyron Smith, Jedrick Wills, or someone else, to come in and help the Patriots, and especially Drake May, on that blind side moving forward. Finally, today we end with old friend Wes Welker, who unfortunately just did miss the nod for the Patriots Hall of Fame last week, when that honor did end up going to Bill Parcells. Obviously, some tough competition, especially with now 2+ decades of success for the New England Patriots, and that'll continue year in, year out to be a question of who that next man up will be to don the red jacket for the Patriots in that Hall of Fame class. And there was a lot of talk as Mike Vrabel was putting his staff together about who would come in potentially as offensive coordinator, as a wide receivers coach. Obviously, Wes Welker has moved over to the coaching side as well, with Miami Dolphins as among a few other spots. And potentially could have been a good fit with Josh McDaniels kind of taking over. Could he get that wide receiver spot? Eventually, that did go to Todd Downing, coming over as the offensive coordinator from the New York Jets. Again, to get that experience was very key in this year's go-around for the coaching staff, especially after last year's not having thus as much, I should say. Wes Welker, though, has gotten a job, so congratulations to him. And we said at the start of Pat's latest that there was often a team that the Patriots wanted to emulate to kind of follow the framework forward to have success in 2025. And that team was the Washington Commanders. And Dan Quinn, an established coach, getting a retread, if you will, a chance to come back and put his stamp back on a program. That same one being Mike Vrabel for the Patriots, a young up-and-coming quarterback, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and now again, Wes Welker kind of being involved in that coaching ranks, talking about it. Now actually getting a chance to go to the Commanders as their wide receivers coach and getting a chance to work now not only with Terry McLaurin, who once has or got, I should say, Daniels as that up and coming quarterback, really absolutely shown. He kind of flew under the radar for his first few seasons in the league. But once he had that quarterback, took off as potentially now a top 20, top 15 wide receiver in this league, and now bookended by Deebo Samuel, some weapons in Washington, and now an established wide receiver coach to go with them. Congratulations, Wes, and continued success to you as long as it doesn't come against the Patriots. That'll do it for us on this episode of Past Latest. Again, go down and subscribe for our channel. Get into the comments and let us know what you think about Vrabel's setting the tone, setting the standard for voluntary workouts and everything as we lead up into the NFL draft. Who are those players you'd continue to like to see the Patriots target? And make sure you go back and check out our older episodes. Fight on, Foxborough.